Hey, what's up, YouTube? Before I get started with this video, I just want you guys to take a minute to like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me out, really helps grow the channel. And I really appreciate it if you just took a moment at the beginning of the video to press like and hit that subscribe and notification button so that you can be notified about future videos from Fighting Foolishness. This morning, I was actually planning on talking about something else, but something's been on my mind. I've had a few conversations with people over the last few days. As you can probably see, I talk to a lot of people all the time, and we're always talking about deep issues, whether it's relationships, race. By trade, I'm in IT, and so obviously a lot about computers and technologies. And the one thing that I kind of wanted to just touch on this morning is about attitude is everything. Part of the reason why I decided to start this YouTube channel is because I noticed that regardless of what it is, you know, we wake up every day and we want to live our lives, yet we have points where we have these deep emotional responses to issues that happen around us all the time. Whether it's race and everything that's going on right now. Right now, we got the Derek Chauvin trial going on, where a police officer kneeled down on a man's neck for almost 10 minutes. The man died, and now he's on trial saying that he's not guilty of murder. You know, and that was a major hot button that resulted in protests and a lot of violence and a lot of love shown by the world. You know, saying, "Hey, that's not right." Or whether it's men and women and how they relate to each other, and how we have a group of people as a man. You know, when I speak to women, a lot of times when I talk to them, they're literally just not thinking the same way that I am, and not thinking of the same way about as a lot of women, as a lot of men are about a specific issue, and it causes an emotional response. It causes tension, right? Because there's a conflict there that needs to be resolved. And in my day job, which is in computers, right, I'm only meeting people when their stuff isn't working or when they're looking for a more effective way to do what they want to do. So IT and technology can cause a great amount of tension because you press the button and it doesn't do what you expect for it to do when you need for it to do that thing, whether it's accessing a file or printing a document or whatever. And so we have these emotional responses to the stimuli. And I was asked a question. I was having a long conversation with a friend over the weekend. I was asked a question like, "Parker, how did you get to be so to have this I don't remember exactly how it was phrased, I apologize, but it was basically like, especially around the race issue, because the last couple of weeks I've talked about race and politics, and she was like, "Well, how did you get to have this energy about race? Because you seem calm about it, right?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not so much that I'm calm about it; it's that I'm usually looking for a solution to the issue. Like, if there's something around me that's happening, whether it's computers, race, people, whatever, my attitude is I'm a pretty solution-oriented person, and I'm looking for answers. And I get caught up in certain questions just like anybody else does. However, I've always put myself in a position to, one, be active in the issue that I've had. So with the race thing, like, I've been in racial conversations since high school at a quasi-professional level. Like, I was in diversity conferences and doing all this stuff, and that's been back in high school. That was over 20 years ago. And so I'm very clear that communication is everything. And most people, when they wake up every day, they're not waking up to go out and cause problems with other people. Most people are just waking up to live their lives and go home. That's probably well over 90% of the population. The anomalies are what cause the tension, right? Computers. Most of the computers out in the world right now do exactly what they're supposed to do, except for when they don't. And when they don't, you got to know somebody that knows how to address the problem that you have, which is still all about their attitude. Because IT people get more frustrated with computers than the normal people. We just know getting mad at the problem isn't an effective solution to actually getting through the problem. So we don't have the same attitude towards it. We have an attitude of curiosity and some bit of love, just like I was saying last week when it came to race and like where they call black people or African American or people of color or whatever. Like it's all about that emotional response that you have to something that is going to drive all of the results that you have, all of them. It's that attitude. And so the question I would have for the world right now, anybody that's listening to the video, is are you being mindful of your attitude? When you meet somebody or meet a situation in your life, what's your attitude in that moment? Are you having an attitude of curiosity and love, or are you having an attitude of it has to be my way? Because sometimes it just isn't. Like when the computer doesn't work, sometimes like the computer is just a machine. All it's in there is ones and zeros. And if that thing doesn't work, getting mad at it isn't going to help. It just won't, you know? When you're talking about a racial situation, getting mad at people that don't see things the way that you do oftentimes isn't helpful unless, for example, it's your job to get mad, right? And just be mindful of that, right? Like there's some people, like you may have a radio host or a TV host or a lawyer, right? Or an activist, and it's their job to be mad or to have a certain attitude about that situation. Maybe the attitude isn't mad. However, those are roles where it might be where that anger or emotion that they're presenting may be productive in some way to them getting from point A to point B. However, as the average person, is getting mad at that thing helpful? When we talk about computers, like me being mad at that computer is a slightly different exercise than the average person being mad, because the average person being mad at the computer probably isn't going to get them any results. It's just going to get them more mad at something. It's just going to create tension in their body and in their minds and something to be frustrated about. Me getting mad at the computer will drive me into action. That means I'm probably going to figure it out. And what computer people, for example, know that others don't necessarily know is that sometimes figuring it out means throwing the thing away and getting another one. However, my anger, I can transmute that anger into something productive, whether it means spending hours, like I might spend hours working down a complicated computer problem, because that's what I do, right? So that anger and frustration will bring me into a level of action that's productive for that situation. However, if I go to one of my clients and they're mad at the computer, here's what they do. And they stay there for a long time until I show up and I either take the problem away from them and take it on themselves, or I simply press the button and move on, right? And then they're like, how did you do that? I was like, well, I knew the button to press and you just didn't. So how productive was that anger for you? How productive was that attitude for you? So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I would encourage people to check their attitudes all the time. Like we talk about, like I said with the race thing, like why I have the attitude. I'm always checking my attitude, always, and I'm always attempting to put myself in the other person's shoes. It's something I've gotten very good at over the years. You know, I put myself in the other guy's shoes, and I know that the problem is way more challenging than it seems, right? And at the end, it's simple. It's just a choice. It's the choices that we make. It's, are you going to walk outside every day and be a loving, kind, and respectful person to the people that are around you, or not? And then what does that mean, right, to you? And when it's in relationships, like I said, same thing. Attitude, and communication. Because oftentimes, if there's a conflict between two people, many times we find that those two people aren't even talking about the same things. They're just mad about something. One person could be mad about one thing and the other person could be mad about another thing. I've been listening to this guy and he's talking about male-female relationships and setting yourself up for success for the opposite sex. And one of the things he talks about is how men actually have different rules than women do about how they set themselves up for success. But they would never know that. Like men and women, when they're talking around each other, maybe not even to each other, a lot of times it doesn't get to the point where they realize, like, oh, like there are certain steps I need to take in order to set this conversation up or set myself up So I'm ready for this other thing, right? And it's not taught. Like, these things are not taught. These attitudes are not directly taught. We don't go to school necessarily and learn them. Sometimes we do, and other times we don't, right? But we can't go through our lives guaranteeing that everybody is going to be on the same page about everything all the time. And so just think about that, right? Like, you might be talking to somebody and they just aren't on the same page as you are. And most of the time, they just won't be. And that requires conversation and communication and having the right attitude so that you can bring the conversation to the point where you guys are talking about the same thing and on the same page. And then you can make a decision, right? Very challenging to do that before. So I just hope that's helpful for somebody. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I'm just like, oh my God, like I got, I made a promise to YouTube that I was going to make videos every week and have them posted up by 11 a.m. on Monday. And I'm keeping my word to you guys. I'm going to keep posting this content, and I just hope everybody's enjoying it. If there's some topic that somebody wants me to address or wants to get my opinion about, please hit up the comments. Otherwise, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Love you guys. I'll see you next week. And watch that attitude. Bye, guys.